So today we're asking the big question: did the Ayatollah regime defeat the United States in this conflict? Because there are two things that are happening right now, and we're going to dive deeper in this podcast. One is what's happening inside Iran. The Ayatollah regime is stating that they are victorious against the protesters. They're claiming that the United States, that Israel, that external enemies have orchestrated all the events in Iran. And then another thing that we're going to dive deeper into today is what's happening outside of Iran. And we're going to talk about multiple aircraft carriers that are repositioned close to Iran, within range of operation. That's a big deal because an aircraft carrier is basically an island that is floating with the ability to conduct multiple strikes for a very long time without the need to go back home or to a base or to a country to restock on weapons. So welcome to TBN Israel, the podcast. With me is the one and only Mati Shoshani and the second and only Tomer Zmora.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, and let's begin.
Okay, but before we actually start with the content, we have a problem because the Iranians are claiming that they won.
Did they win?
Well, that's what they're saying. And
It's a great question.
We're going to break all of this down because they're saying that they've stopped the revolution. Mm-hmm. They're saying that they have proven, and we'll get to that.
I like the proof.
That all the people that are demonstrating are Mossad agents or CIA agents. None of them would be doing this on their own accord. Mm-hmm. And they have proof that was or was not extracted by torture of these people. Which we're going to find out. I'm not laughing at the torture. I'm laughing at the
proof. Yeah,
at the proof that they're trying to claim. And they're saying that they've won and the U.S. has backed down. And I want to say this: we're recording this podcast about a day before this airs.
Yes.
And I don't say this slightly or with any clear information in advance. As we're saying, the Iranians are claiming that they won. There might be an American strike on the way to Iran. That is very, very possible.
Yes, exactly. As we're speaking now, because I don't see a reason for moving all these military forces within active range of the Islamic Republic of Iran if you don't want to use them.
Yeah. Sometimes the delivery costs more than the product. So, to deliver so much forces to the area, it's probably costing a lot.
I want to answer a big question before we even get into this. Why didn't the strike happen a week ago? And I'll give you the answers that are not true. CNN said, the Israeli government requested of the Americans to hold off the attack because we don't have enough interceptor missiles.
We need a buzzer.
Boom, wrong. I think this is wrong.
False.
Yes.
They claimed, another claim, that the U.S. was chickening. It wasn't CNN, it was others. The U.S. chickened out of the attack on the Iranians. Also not true. Here's what really happened. Two main forces. One is the local forces, and the second one is the American agenda. The local forces are the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Israelis that said to the American government, without having the ability to carry out a full strike, there's no point in this. All you're doing is poking the bear. What they're going to do is retaliate against us, and it's not going to change the regime. If you're doing this, do it right and change the regime. The reason for them saying that is because the carrier groups that were supposed to be located in the Middle East were not here because they were busy changing the regime in a South American country. Hint, hint.
Venezuela.
Doesn't matter names.
Yeah, Venezuela. So that carrier group is quickly making its way back here. There are other forces that are repositioning in this region. And the second part was, so we said it was a local pressure, don't do this. External pressure in the American government that said, let's do this all the way right and not just for the sake of appearance carry out this attack. Because again, this isn't the kind of regime that you launch one missile at the Parliament building to say we give up. We've seen what they're willing to do. So these claims that the U.S. government wasn't able to carry out the attack, they're not true. The claim that Israel's afraid of that clash,
not true.
Also not true.
Proven that we did it in the past in the 12-day war.
Exactly. But the Iranians, they used that opportunity to say, "Oh look, they're afraid of us. We've won," knowing full well that it's not true. That it's just a question of time when the United States and Israel, if it wasn't interested, would be able to strike again. And that brings us to today, to the question of, is the strike actually happening or not? And why do the Iranians keep saying that they've won?
Yes. Well, of course, they have to say that they've won. This is all of a matter of perception, because they are facing their own population trying to topple the regime. And the only way that a dictatorial regime knows how to defeat internal pressure is by force, by fear, by intimidation, and by lies.
Yeah.
We see that Hamas is doing the same thing in the Gaza Strip. We see that the Assad regime did it for many, many years in Syria, and now we see that the Ayatollah regime is doing it inside Iran. How do they do it? First of all, they crack down violently against the demonstrations, against the own Iranian people, while taking out the internet, making sure that the world does not know what's happening for sure. So the official numbers that are coming out of Iran and are verified with the government are around 5,000 casualties in these protests and the clashes between the government forces and the protests, which is high. But the unofficial numbers that are coming out of human rights organizations that are monitoring the situation there are more than 16,000 casualties. Mm-hmm. These are high numbers just by the regime forces opening fire against the own Iranian people. On top of that, it's not only the regime forces, not only the police, not only the military of Iran. This regime brought in mercenaries from other nations, from other proxies, from Iraq, from Lebanon, from other places in this region, because they are afraid that their own people, the police, the military, will say, I don't want to open fire against my own people. This is my cousin Pazachtian or something, you know. I don't want to open fire against him. Yeah. So let's bring somebody else, a mercenary, that doesn't speak the language, doesn't know the people, and they will be a lot more brutal with the force that they use against their own Iranian people. And this is what's happening in Iran.
In the last couple of
last
week. Like, share, and subscribe.
You of all people. You of all people, Tomer.
Shame on you, Tomer.
Just before we're gonna continue, please like, share, and subscribe. It's super important for us. Keep spreading the truth about what happening in Israel, because that's the way that the truth is.
He's excited. He's excited. Yeah. He was choking when he said that. It's so meaningful to him.
I was. It's super meaningful. Every day we're fighting for the truth. We're sitting in the edit room, and a lot of materials getting to us. Behind the scenes of making the boots on the ground report every day, and our editor Eli sent me a folder full of phone photo shoots that got from Iran, and we couldn't put it on the YouTube because then we're going to be banned. But I must say that for the videos that came out were looking much more horrible from what we saw on 7th of October. You see street fulls of nylon bags, black nylon bags. You see families.
Body bags. Piles of them, yeah.
I never saw something like that, and for many years I'm working in news. I saw a lot of materials coming. When they talking about 6,000 or 7,000 deaths and 330 injured or something like that, or videos of young people standing on in the middle of the street. And shouting that they are Mossad agents and stuff, just not to be killed.
I think it's important to explain this point. So the Iranian regime says and claims that they have proof that all these protests were instigated and orchestrated by the Israeli Mossad spy agency, by the CIA and other spy agencies around the world. They said that they have proof of this. And the only proof that was presented was people confessing to being Mossad agents, meaning going on stage and saying, yes, I'm a Mossad agent, yes, I'm a CIA agent. And this is, literally having a gun pointed at their heads, at their families' heads, and confessing this. So do you think these confessions are true?
I'll ask this to our public, to the viewers. Is it possible that the regime that's willing to gun down its own people, that's willing to make people disappear repeatedly over decades, that's willing to drive their economy into the ground at the sake of religious extremism and a kleptocracy of a government, would they possibly force a confession, a false confession out of a person to promote their own agenda for self-survival?
Yeah, it depends who you ask. If it's Roger Waters, probably yes.
No, he'd say no, Tomer. I'm saying it's obviously
Yeah.
a government like the Iranian government, they're willing to do anything to claim this. And from the beginning, by the way, they claimed none of this is local. This is all foreign agents. This is all foreign money, all foreign pressure. And I want to be clear here. There's a really good chance, and I say this guessing, not knowing, that the CIA and the Mossad have assets on the ground in Iran. I'd be very surprised if we didn't.
Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if several other agencies don't. In the same way, by the way, the Iranians recruited Israelis to try and commit acts against the country.
You know, I get text messages from Iranian
bots.
spies or bots or something saying that they want to offer me multiple stuff for pictures and for espionage and stuff like that. You know, it happens to many Israelis.
Did you say yes, Yael?
No, I said no.
Okay.
just to be clear.
Anyway, to our point though, so the Iranians are obviously using violence against their people. They're obviously trying to twist the conversation and claim that it's a foreign entity that's acting here. But let's be clear. No foreign entity is able to get hundreds of thousands and possibly millions of people to risk their lives to overthrow a regime just because someone else is paying them. That doesn't happen. You can have foreign actors that manipulate the political system, but that's not the case here. The people in Iran every year, for years now, have been demonstrating against the government. It used to be every 2 years, and before that, every couple decades. Even, I was looking into this recently, even in the years where they took power in Iran, there were violent riots against the Ayatollah regime inside of Iran of people saying, give us back our freedom. We don't want the Ayatollah regime. We don't want religious extremism. This is going back all the way to the late 70s when they came to power. The main reason they stayed in power, by the way, is where they had real foreign enemies back then.
Yes.
Not Israel.
Yeah.
The Iraqis. They had a madman next door, Saddam Hussein, who literally was using chemical weapons against the people of Iran, and they had a foreign enemy to sort of
Unite them.
To unite them against that enemy and keep the government in power. And since then, they've been methodically doing the same thing again and again, pointing outwards instead of looking at the internal issues.
Exactly.
But let's address the question, the claim that they're making. They're saying that they were able to stop the demonstrations and that this is all of the past and that the American strike is not happening. And we need to break down these claims. The first one is that they've stopped the big wave of the demonstrations, and it's evident that that's probably happened.
Looks like that this is correct. Also, according to American intelligence information that we received, that the demonstrations have been significantly downgraded or weakened. Okay, what's next?
Which is a lot when you think about it. If you're a government, let's say you had hundreds of thousands or low millions of people rioting in your streets. Look, in Israel, we're a democracy, but we have a relatively strong police force. Just yesterday, roads were closed in our capital because people were angry about some random, I don't even want to go into the details. It was so specific and niche in its nature. And yet, here they are, the Iranian government. They have countless people on their streets. Those people are using weapons against the government. They're burning down police stations. They're very, very angry. And they unleash such extreme violence against those people.
That they
stopped. What level of violence was needed? They were admitting to a couple thousand casualties. Opposition forces were saying that we're in the, it was a week ago. We were talking about, earlier this week. We were talking about 12, 13, 14,000. Now the numbers are even higher.
Yeah.
And there's images. I don't know how much of this we can say without getting this video censored. But there's videos of single hospitals that have hundreds of dead inside the hospital.
All injured.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of injured.
I'm not talking about the injured. I'm talking about there'll be in one single location, in one single city.
So lucky.
There's many hundreds of casualties in that one place.
Yeah.
And then when you multiply it across a continent, a country with tens of millions of people, 80 to 90 million, we're not sure exactly what the number is, we're talking about a lot of casualties.
Yeah. And more than that, we have reports that those that do have some money in Iran are fleeing the country, moving to nearby Turkey. With whatever they have left with them, just crossing the border and moving to Turkey because they're afraid that they won't have the option to do that if the government will take one of their family members with them as a hostage. So this is the situation of what's happening inside Iran. The internet has restored, but not to 100%. It's close to around 10% of its capabilities. So the government is still monitoring everything that is happening inside Iran. The Iranian TV is projecting victory is projecting images of Iranians that are stating that they are part of the Mossad, the CIA, basically blaming everybody except for taking responsibility for what they've done to the economy of their own people. We don't know if the bazaar, which is the major, Walmart of Iran, basically, or the major companies of Iran, has reopened yet, and the economy is still very bad. The Iranian currency is at an all-time low, super, super low, a few millions for $1, and it's very hard to do business with this country. So this is the situation inside Iran. On the outside areas of Iran, meaning in this region, you have Israel preparing with our military, with our rockets, mainly on a defensive capability, but also with offensive capabilities with our Air Force to carry out any kind of attack to defend ourselves in retaliation to whatever Iran does, or in a preemptive strike. Okay, so all the options are on the table, and on a personal level, the people of Israel were told to make sure that the bomb shelters are clean and ready, and with supplies to last for a few days to stay if needed. But schools resume. We are here in the studio. Life goes on. Shops are open. So this is related to Israel.
I think there's something that needs to be said. There's this sense of concern that people have. Oh, war is coming, war is coming. We don't feel it on the ground in Israel.
Yeah.
And I want to say this, we're also not going to let it affect our lives in Israel. This has been years at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of day to day. Oh, so they want to kill us. Oh, yeah. What's new?
Yeah, this looming threat. We're not stopping our lives because of that. We're not stopping our travel. We're not stopping businesses. Things go on as usual here. I'd say the only change, if you really zoomed out of what's happening in Israel, is that every defense system in the country is turned up to, I don't know if the highest volume, but close to it.
Yeah.
And when it comes to counterterrorism operations within the country is very, very hyper-vigilant about, how do I say this nicely, Iranian-inspired terrorism acts that would happen in Israel or against Israeli targets outside of the country.
I have two questions. First, how we know that there is actually going to be a war and why we see that? Can you picture us what actually going on in the Middle East on military level right now?
I mean, there's a lot going on.
Can you picture the map of?
Yeah, I have a map now that Eli, our editor, sent us. So it looks like there's like multiple warships all around Iran and more coming to this region. Let's just name a few of them. So we have littoral combat ships, USS Canberra, USS Santa Barbara, USS Mitchell. Well, I'm the wrong man to say names. USS Macfowl, USS Tulsa, and then you have the USS Roosevelt on its way now in the Red Sea. Maybe it's already in the Arabian Gulf. We don't know. And these are massive amount of forces.
These are just naval assets, though.
Yeah.
Here's the big picture.
But naval assets have planes on them and have everything.
But I mean, I think only one of these is a carrier.
The Lincoln. The Lincoln just disappeared next to the Persian.
The Persian Gulf.
Yeah.
So
4 days ago,
again,
disappeared.
There's disinformation that is used when these kind of operations are about to take place. We do know that the U.S. has ramped up substantially the amount of forces it has in the region, and just to give people an idea of what that looks like, and maybe I'll use Venezuela as sort of an example of how this works. You have intelligence, so everything that's on the ground goes to full capacity, trying to gather intelligence, to use intelligence. You have prep work done on cyber attacks.
Yes.
That's again, you're prepping to the moment where you push all the red buttons and bring down the infrastructure of the country you're trying to deny access to, or bring down the regime in this case. You have intelligence assets that are in the air that are operating, satellites, airplanes, spy planes. It's all these different things that happen, and probably smaller vehicles such as Israel used back in June in Operation Rising Lion, or Midnight Hammer, as the Americans called it, where we had a ton of small drones. A ton just meaning a lot.
A large number. Lots.
Not the actual weight. A large number was probably more than a ton. If you think about it. A large number of drones that fly around and inside Iran. We know Israel had intelligence actively gathered in the air above Iran when this was happening. We can imagine it's happening again. Then you have special forces, CIA, let's call it other clandestine organizations that are operating. And this is happening in physical bases around Iran. They have in Qatar a large base. They have in the Emirates bases. They have reportedly in several other countries in the region additional forces. And it's all sort of gearing up towards this. And just again, to use Venezuela as an example, the strike on Venezuela that lasted just a handful of hours, they had planes flying in from over 20 different locations.
Wow.
Over 20. So just now talk about the Middle East. Back in June, we had the B-2 bombers in Diego Garcia, which is somewhere deep in the Indian Ocean. Well out of the strike range of Iranian missiles, but well within the strike range of those bombers. You had a, let's call it counterintelligence operation, where they were flying other bombers in a different direction from continental USA to a different area of the world to sort of throw everyone off. And you have, again, the air refuelers and the assets and the tanks on the ground. There's a lot that goes into this. Most of those assets are already here.
That's it. We got reports about tanks.
Yeah.
Plenty of American tanks got here.
And also, Tomer, like on the ground, on the diplomatic arena, the United States is pulling its ambassadors from the area. It's repositioning its forces and scattering them so that they won't be vulnerable in one location in the Middle East, in the areas that the Iranian regime can strike them. And is also banning communications on Iranian diplomats around the world. So all of this together looks like something is brewing here. And it looks like the Iranians are going to be attacked. If they're not attacked, as we're airing this podcast now.
As it airs, yeah.
Right.
We have the risk since we don't want to record this on Friday night.
I must
we
say
don't want to record this from a bunker in Israel, from a bomb shelter.
yesterday the Ayatollah regime said that they will take down Donald Trump. They said, this time we will not miss. And Trump immediately said, the moment you will put a finger on an American citizen, we will delete you out of the map. That was
the statement?
That was Trump's statement yesterday.
Wow.
They will be bombed out. Something like that.
Look, to remind everyone, when Trump was running for presidency, we know of 2 events where the Iranians someone tried to eliminate him. It was 2 events, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two separate events.
One with the ear, the shot in the ear, and then there's another one.
That can't be directly tied to the Iranians. I'm talking about there were plots within the U.S. Of people that were somehow, or it's never direct in these kind of things.
That's kind of a story that got disappeared. Like nobody knows who the dude that shot Donald Trump really was and who he was working for.
Same goes for the guy who shot Charlie Kirk.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Again, today isn't the conspiracy podcast; it's the TBN Israel podcast.
That's what
We'll focus on the facts and what we have. Yeah, exactly.
By the way, guys, if you're watching this at home and you're interested to hear more about these conspiracies, let us know in the comments, and maybe we need to do a show addressing some of these things. Because a lot happens where you look at it and you say, in retrospect, someone's been lying to us and we don't have all the facts. I just went on this is a very side note thing, this deep dive that had to do with government, the government's hiding information on what actually happened during COVID. Mm-hmm. And then Donald Trump was the only one who was telling the truth. do you remember this? Yeah. And because it was him, everyone said, oh no, it's a conspiracy, it's not true. It turns out later on he was the one who was the whistleblower, and everyone was dismissing him because it was running up to the elections in the U.S. Mm-hmm. Anyway, back to
crazy.
It is sure. No. So you really don't know what exactly is happening. Let me say this: the Iranian government were terrified of what was happening. We know they were terrified because we've had information leaked saying that they were prepping for what happens when the government's overthrown. We know they were terrified because they were using extreme violence against their people to the point where we saw the citizens of Tehran, the capital of Iran, fleeing into the hills. I mean, really in this like end times kind of image. Did you see those images?
Yeah,
of people
I saw. Walking on
scrambling up mountainsides. I mean, just masses of people, not in hiking clothes, in their city clothes, running up the sides of mountains outside of the outskirts of the city to flee the city. Because what the government was doing, they were arresting anyone who was involved in the demonstrations. They were rounding up people and executing them. They were torturing people. They were doing probably a lot more than that we're going to find out in in years to come. The death toll is very substantial. The injured toll is very, very substantial. We're talking about probably hundreds of thousands of people in Iran who one way or another were injured in these attacks. We're talking about at least dozens of, let's call it security employees, be them Basij, be them IRGC, be them other forces within the Iranian police who were injured by the demonstrations themselves, multiple who were killed in those demonstrations. We're talking very, very violent clashes. Yeah. We know they were scared. We know they're on the, they've put everything to 10 out of 10 in the violence level against their people, and they're throwing around threats like they do when they're scared. We're going to attack Israel, we're going to attack the U.S., we're coming for you, anything to divert the conversation from what's happening now. And then the question that remains is what really happens next?
Yeah, so let's talk about the facts. Israel fought a war against the Islamic Republic of Iran in June, okay? And we took out around 50% of their ballistic missile launchers. So not the ballistic missiles, but the vehicles that are able to launch these missiles. We harmed their ability to create and produce solid fuel, which is needed to fuel up these rockets within a fast turnaround. So what they have left...
Wait, what are those called?
What?
Planetary
mixers.
Planetary
mixers.
Such a funny name. I just read this whole article about how many planetary mixers
do you need?
Remain, and how many did we destroy in Lebanon, and how many did we destroy in Syria. Anyway, it's a big thing.
Yeah, but it sounds like a good startup company, Planetary Mixers.
Yeah.
If you're into... I bet China is working on that very hard.
You guessed correctly.
You know, I guess it is. I think it's the number one
you guessed correctly.
plan.
It's the Chinese who are selling it to the enemies of the U.S. But it's funny, you don't think about these things until you realize how much infrastructure you need to manufacture a substantial missile. Yeah. Between the metal processing, between the electronics, between the guidance systems, the rocket engines, the chips.
And then to fuel it.
And then the propellant to fuel it. And then there's different types of propellant. You have liquid, you have solid. The solid ones don't take a prep time. So you can open the silo.
And then close the silo.
Yeah, versus the ones that have the liquid fuel, it needs to be mixed and refueled.
You need to bring the truck and to, pump the gas into the rocket. It takes like 2 hours because it's a lot of rocket to fly, into Israel. It's not very fuel efficient like what we have now in Israel with the laser beam that you just did an interview, which I watched, was very interesting. I learned a lot.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Crazy stuff. You need to use 100 lasers to combine them into one laser beam that is strong enough to take down the rockets, and it costs like a few tens of dollars or something like that, or less than that.
No, it was just electricity.
So anyway, Iran has a lot less of what they had before the previous war, but still they talk big. They state that they can eradicate Israel. They state that they will attack U.S. bases in the Middle East. And in practice, what we know from our intelligence and from previous rounds, they have less. So that's on the table. Second, Israel has more advanced anti-rocket defensive systems than we had before. Third, there is the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip, so-called ceasefire. We're still fighting there every single day. But we have less focus in our local arenas, less focused against Hezbollah in Lebanon, less focused in defeating Hamas terrorists in the Gaza Strip or Judea and Samaria, and less attacks from the Houthis in Yemen. If there is a war in Iran, we are focused against this war.
Can I make a comment here?
Yeah.
I'm saying this also for, we cover the news a lot. And often
we do?
We do. I've recently learned that we cover the news a lot.
Okay.
I want to give people perspective of what's happening in the Middle East. They think Iran is like this isolated island of troublemaking that tries sometimes to export it. We've been carrying out, the IDF, an ongoing operation throughout Judea and Samaria to bring down terrorism infrastructure. This is after more than 2 years of operating at a high intensity level in Judea and Samaria. There have been, without going into too many details, many dozens of arrests made in recent months in every major city in Judea and Samaria, or almost every major city in Judea and Samaria, and here's the point, of funded by the Iranians, promoted by the Iranians, Hamas terrorism cells. And we remember we've been on the ground multiple times in Judea and Samaria, in my case also, both in a military capacity and as a journalist.
By the way, Judea and Samaria is like 10 minutes this direction.
In every
So
direction.
it's like in every, it's like, it's
Well,
here.
except for that one. In every direction. That way. But to make the point is the Iranians are actively trying to sabotage what's happening in Israel. They're actively trying to export terrorism. They're actively trying to restart Hezbollah, to restart the Houthis, to restart every type of disturbance and disruption that they can in the region. They haven't stopped. And if people think, oh, it's just this isolated event, it's all tied together. When their people rise up against them, what do? They cause death and destruction everywhere to try and divert the conversation, both internally and externally. And they've been causing, this evil regime has been causing suffering for 47 years inside Iran, inside Israel, inside Yemen, hundreds of thousands of casualties in Yemen, inside Lebanon. Again, I don't know what the death toll is there, but it's very substantial. In Syria and in many other countries, including, by the way, many U.S. citizens that have been killed by Iranian-backed terrorism attacks over decades. So, look, this is the country we're fighting against. They're fighting for their survival, but their survival is not for the better of their people. It's for them to continue stealing and destroying their own country. And there has never, well, that's not true. This is one of many just fights of people against an evil, oppressive regime. And we need to look at it as that. This isn't political, although it is political.
Yeah.
It isn't just religious, although it is religious. It isn't just about right or wrong, even though it is about right or wrong. It's a people of tens of millions that have been oppressed by an evil regime that need to be removed from it, and the regime needs to be removed as the cancer that it is. And not only that, they've been spreading violence everywhere. We need to help them do that.
The same violence that going against the Iranian people, it's the same violence that it's the same regime that worked years to destroy us. It's the same people doing the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. This is the situation. So I want to ask you guys back at home, guys, girls, everybody. Sorry if I say guys sometimes. I thought that means everybody, but I guess not. So do you think that the Ayatollah regime won? Okay. Do you think with all the information that we presented in front of you today, do you think that the claim that they were victorious against the United States is correct? Let me know in the comments. In the meantime that you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And I think this is time to share our sponsor for today. Tomer, who's our sponsor for today?
Vinya.
I think that Ilan, the founder or CEO of Vinya, was supposed to be here with us because we talk a lot about them. And they had some cool innovation that they wanted to share with us about a energy drink mixed with Vinya to boost performance. If it's in the gym, if it's fighting, if it's defending, if it's part of the IDF or a military force. And too bad he's not here, but he would love to come here and share.
I mean, he's been here a bunch of times. We've seen their facility too. I've tried recently the tea. Have you had some of that?
I had once, not twice.
One, it was good.
It was good.
It was really good tea. And it seemed to have the same effect that taking the capsules does, just possibly even faster.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I tried the chewable. They have also the chewable. It's like little gummy bears of Vinya.
You love gummy bears.
They were tasty, and I like candy. So it's a good combination.
If you ask, I live on candies sometimes.
Yeah. But for those of you who do not know Vinya, it's an Israeli innovation. It's basically extracting the best of the grapes in Israel and then putting them into this capsule. And then you take it on a daily basis, and it boosts your blood circulation, which helps all kinds of stuff, from your muscles to your brain, to thinking clearly, to more energy, and whatever touches the blood has an effect on everything in your life. So I've been taking it for 2.5 years now. Every day.
It's been that long?
Yeah, since the war started, I've been taking it basically on a regular basis, and gives me a boost. I feel good. And that's the whole point. I think blood flow is kind of everything.
I agree.
You took it a lot more. And look, he's in shape. He doesn't look his age. He looks a lot younger than what he is.
I'm only 24. What are you talking about?
Oh, sorry. My bad. So if you want to try it for yourself, go to Vinya, TBNisrael.com. Again, that's Vinya, TBNisrael.com. There should be a number as well, which I don't see it. But Tomer, do you have the number?
Wait.
VinyaTBNisrael.com.
Here it is. It's VinyaTBNisrael.com, or this is within North America, 800-638-1944.
Yeah.
Once again, 800-638-1944. If you wonder whether or not these things are recorded live time, they are.
They are recorded live
That's why
time.
we're always fumbling for the numbers over here. So we talked about Israel's readiness. We talked about what Iran is planning to do. And there's this tension in the air of what's going to happen next. And it can go, I think, a couple ways. It could be this massive explosion, no pun intended. I mean, it could be literally and figuratively speaking. Iran strikes out against someone in the region, Israel, Houthis, Hezbollah, something to sort of divert attention. And they sort of, use that to press down even more on their population. And Israel retaliates, the U.S. retaliates, and it grows into this, again, limited conflict. I want to say that in light of what happened back in June and what happened in Venezuela, I think no one has a question in their mind at this point whether the Iranians can defend themselves against Israeli and American strikes. They can't.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. Their air defenses are almost useless against any American-made technology or any Israeli-made technology. We've seen that, and that's supposed to be the best of the Russian industries.
Exactly.
Which apparently isn't worth as much as it used to be thought it was.
So there is one thing at least right now is on my mind. It's about China and Russia. The whole time Iran said that the moment that the U.S. will attack, we will see China and Russia getting to help them.
Not sure. I'm not sure about that. Like what we see is that Donald Trump is inviting Putin, president of Russia, to join the Peace Council for the Gaza Strip. So he's inviting him to all these like international committees, placing him next to Trump. So it seems like Putin is not 100% on the Iranian side, especially nobody wants to bet on a losing horse. And I doubt that anybody thinks that the Ayatollah regime are the future of the Iranian people for the next generation or 20 years.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Do the Saudis and the Emiratis have a fear that the Iranian regime will last? Because that was one of the big sort of points that was made this last week. Was why did they suddenly? They
Protect.
hate and fear the Iranian regime. The Iranian regime has been the bane of their existence.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so adversarial. One Sunni, one Shia. They try to fight over oil and control in the region, etc. And suddenly the Saudis got cold feet, and they stopped talking. And not just them. So did the Qataris and the Emiratis. And suddenly they're not sure that they're against the Iranian regime. And I think the reason is because they had a hunch that maybe the Iranian regime is not as short-lived as people imagine it is. They might go away in a year, they might go away in 2 years or 4 years, but in the meantime, they're not interested. They don't see a reason to outwardly say, yes, down with the Ayatollah regime. Because what do they need missiles on their oil tankers in the going through the Straits of Hormuz? They don't need that.
Yeah, I think that more than that, they are afraid of a change. People in general are afraid of change. It's like kind of like better the devil you know than the devil you don't know. So
Absolutely.
They don't know what will come next. Now there is the Ayatollah regime. It's bad. It's threatening. It's exporting terrorism. But we still can have our business. We still have oil. Maybe something way worse will come after them in Iran because of toppling this regime. So let's keep things as they are. Things are not so bad. Let's not make any kind of unrational decisions and shake the table. I think this is the fear of the Saudis, the Emiratis, and the Qataris. Plus, they are like very close to the Iranians. Like they are within the range of the very, very low-tech missiles and the naval ships of the Iranians. So they are like the front line of getting impacted by anything that might happen.
Absolutely, as is Israel.
Yeah, exactly. Even we are a bit further away and we have better defensive systems than the Saudis, Emiratis, Qataris. They might want to buy some pretty soon, but we don't know. Looks like they need it, but it will be too late if a war happens now.
Everybody talk about how America gonna attack. My question is how the Iranian army or the proxies will react to any such attack. In this case, do we gonna need to send forces all over the Middle East to prevent the Houthis and the Lebanon and the Hezbollah attacking us, or we'll need to go attack Iran, or it's a one hit and we over, or it's going to be many months like we saw in back when 9/11 happened and the war in Afghanistan.
So I don't know what I think that Trump wants to do is something quick and decisive, like what he did in Venezuela. Like come in, do a targeted operation, and then end it. Not drag the United States into years and years of war that cost a lot of money and raise the prices. I think that's the plan. We've seen Trump do it with the B-2 bombers attacks on the nuclear facilities. It was like one strike, boom, that's it. We won. That was the thing. Also with Venezuela, you wake up in the morning, the Maduro is now in New York, and that's it. So I think that's kind of the idea. And then we have it now with Greenland. Boom, yeah, Greenland is ours, the Panama Canal. He wants to do fast stuff that have fast headlines and make a change without dragging the whole country into a prolonged war that is losing the support of the people very fast.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like he's suffocating the oil out of China right now, step by step. I collected from last week, because we talked about the same stuff about Iran, some questions, and many people asked about the day after. Does the day after Israel going to have peace with Iran?
Well, that's what people are afraid about, or afraid of. And I'll take that one step further. When we talk about Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, the Qataris, and Israel, there's a couple options of what happens in Iran if the Ayatollah regime falls. Not all of them are good for us, and some of them are possibly even worse than what we have right now. The example of that is what happens to Iraq. Iraq is a country that fell apart. It was controlled by a madman who was a very, very evil dictator to his people and to the region. But when it fell apart, we had essentially 2 decades at this point of infighting inside the country and destabilization.
Exactly.
And those countries, they look at it and they say, look, right now the Iranians, they might be crazy, they might be violent, but at least we have someone to talk to. And if the government falls apart, and now we have another case of the Houthis and some kind of extreme Shia faction that's now using weapons left over from a fallen country against our ships, against our, our aircraft. Suddenly you can't fly over the Middle East. Suddenly, you can't sail a ship through the Straits of Hormuz without having a missile.
Potential nuclear weapons or chemical weapons that were talked about that will spill over to terrorist elements.
Yeah, there's a lot, So it's super tricky in that sense where people look at this and they say, wait a minute, there's a worse scenario than a regime that makes threats. That is 5 different crazy regimes that all make threats and none of them talk to each other or agree on the same topic. That's even worse because how do you put pressure on that kind of entity? Exactly. It's impossible. So they're afraid of that too. They're also afraid of another option. Also, a reformed Iran is something scary for them. And if a reformed Iran that says, we need cash quick, we're going to sell oil cheap. We need cash quick, we're going to sell labor cheap. We need cash quick, we're going to export manpower to other countries or take deals for manufacturing of different things.
Oh, God forbid, according to many countries in the Middle East. Let's have peace with Israel. Yeah, let's make connections with the high-tech nation of the world and rebuild ourselves. We cannot have that. That's the biggest fear of them all, to have stable relations with Israel. And this is something that this is the best case scenario in my point of view for us.
Yeah, not for the Saudis, though.
No, not for the Saudis.
Because the Saudis have been using the normalization of relations with Israel as this negotiation point with the U.S. for a long time of like, well, I'm sort of, I'm the king of the Sunni Islam world. You need to bring me in to really make this big change. Now, if suddenly Iran comes in,
we don't need Saudi Arabia. Let's Abraham Accords with Iran.
Exactly. And so it's really interesting how sometimes the outcome can be scary because you don't know where it's going. Secondly, for certain countries in the region, it takes away from their power if Iran is reformed as a country. And it could go many ways. Literally, we could spend hours talking about it. It could break down into different regions. Because Iran is not a fully Persian country as people imagine it to be. The Persians are actually not even the majority of the population in the country. Mm-hmm. They're made up of many different ethnicities, the biggest of which, from what I understand, are called, what is the word? They're related to Turkish descent. I forget the name of the ethnicity, and that's the ethnicity of Khamenei and several of the leaders of the country.
Really? Khamenei is not Persian.
They're half. So it's, what is it called? It'll come back to me right after we finish the podcast. But you have the Baluchis and you have the Persians and you have different sects, including Kurds inside of the country. So a lot of different factions inside the country. It could break up into different pieces. And right now, we're in this really weird position. And as we try to wrap this up, we're at a place where we don't know where things are going. It's incredibly tense in the Middle East. And I don't say this lightly. There's a lot of American forces. Everyone in Israel is sitting, waiting to see where this goes, as are the Emiratis, as are the Saudis, as is maybe Trump. I'm not sure.
Flights have been canceled or rerouted.
Just a handful, though.
A little bit, not just a little bit, yeah.
I think it's more because people are so hesitant of what's going to happen that any rumor of conflict or people they over respond to it. I don't think anything really happened yet. And it could go many different ways. I think our prayer should be, and everyone's prayer should be, where do we go? Our prayer should be for the people of the Iranian nation, for peace, for transformation, for God to really act in that country. Our prayer should be for the government in Iran to be removed, for stabilization to take place in this region, and for there to be a peaceful transition without there having to be any violent change. I think that would be the right thing.
Yeah, and we have a guest here in the studio, all the way from North Carolina, if I'm correct. You want to come up and introduce yourself, say hi? You don't have to if you don't want to, but you can. So this is your mic. Love your jacket, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Mike Brooks, and
Hey, Mike.
I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Great having you here.
Thank you.
In Jerusalem. And by the way, guys, if you're ever in Jerusalem, make sure to send us an email, leave a comment, and come to the studio. Say hi for real. We love to see you.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I really don't have any questions. I just want to express my appreciation to the Boots on the Ground team. You guys are fantastic, and I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity to see it firsthand, face to face. From a technical perspective, and from a relational perspective, you guys are just really connecting with a lot of people. And I think I can speak to the hundreds of thousands of people that watch and even more that we really appreciate the content and the authenticity and the accuracy of what you're saying. Yeah, I could go on, but I just really appreciate all that you mean to countless viewers like my wife and myself and others that are just really thankful for this type of source to get information.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. And we're thankful for you praying for the situation.
Yes.
And for helping us share the truth, really. It really means the world for us.
We do pray, and this content gives us a beacon of how to pray, guidance on how to pray.
If you don't have a question, then I have a question for you.
Yes.
You told me earlier you've been watching our content for over a year and a half at this point. What was the one thing that you learned that really surprised you or you really didn't know beforehand?
Wow, that's
or maybe an idea that clicked into place.
Yeah, I think the reality of your authenticity being at a higher level than we see on mainstream media.
Well, that's good to know. So, feels like we're speaking from what's happening on the ground.
Yes,
we are.
That's that's true.
Yes.
So
our trust is in the Lord. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob to help us in this, and to pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and also to just be vigilant in prayer.
And how does it feel to walk in Israel now, in Jerusalem, in the streets? Do you feel any kind of threats? Do you have a good time?
No, I don't feel threatened. In fact, I guess I was more concerned about my flight being canceled getting here, rather than it being canceled to leave, because I'm not really too concerned.
You're welcome to stay as long as you want here.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I just again speak on behalf of Minnie, and my wife in particular sends greetings. And
Well, send her greetings back.
thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Appreciate it.
Close the show.
Cool. So, Mati, we learned a lot. I'm curious to see what the viewers have to say about the voting, who won this rhetorical conflict, unless we're in the middle of another round of extreme blows between Iran and the US and Israel and the Brits and everybody in this region. We'll see. We don't know. But in the meantime, make sure, where's my camera? Here it is. So boom. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem. And see you again next time for another TBN Israel, the podcast.